March 16th, 2022 edition of the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series, brought to you by the National Urban League. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson, president of the Harlem, New York-based diversity recruitment firm East Coast Executives. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. The Digital Career Success Series, DCSS, is a professional development series that helps members of our Urban League Young Professional chapters and other diverse job seekers develop new skill sets that will enhance their careers through digital platforms such as webinars, Facebook, and Instagram Live. The goal is to promote an opportunity for professional development right from one's computer. Thank you so very much for joining us today. Listen, it's not too late to text a friend, email a friend, send them the link, tell them to jump on, because today for our DCSS, it's the Knack for networking. So bring your network, invite your network to join us. We'll be here for the next hour. Today's show will feature Candia Johnson and L. Pearson. But before we get started, let me bring in our sponsor today from Nestle. Jonathan Wilson, you here? You with us?
I am here. All right, all right. So good afternoon, and thank you for having me on today. My name is Jonathan Wilson. I am an HR manager with Nestle's technical and productions team, and I'm really excited to be with you this afternoon as I relish the opportunity to learn and to add to my career toolbox by gaining a knack for networking. Nestle is a proud sponsor of the National Urban League, and we appreciate the opportunity to sponsor today's digital career success series, A Knack for Networking. Nestle is the world's largest food and beverage company, doing billions in sales each year, 28 billion in sales in the US, and almost 100 billion worldwide. We currently employ around 30,000 individuals across the nation who work within our factories and our corporate locations. Nestle currently has a number of openings across our operating companies, so check us out at nestlejobs.com, and remember to set up job alerts and join our talent community so you can be the first to know about specific functional areas of interest to you. At Nestle, people are at the heart of our competitive advantage, and diversity, equity, and inclusion are the core of our culture as we maintain a strong presence in America's households, with 97% of homes in the US having Nestle products in their refrigerators and pantries. Our product portfolio includes some of the nation's most well-known food and beverage products like Nestle Toll House, Coffee Mate, DiGiorno Pizza, Stouffer's, San Pellegrino, and Essentia Water, to name a few. In closing, the National Urban League and events like this today are close to my heart because the National Urban League and programs like today's event have poured into my life. From youth summer programs to being selected as a Tulsa Young Professional National Urban League Board intern a few years back, of course, to now as a current mentor of high school students with the Urban League affiliate in Seattle, Washington through Nestle. The National Urban League and its programming have added to the person that you see today in front of you. And I look forward to learning more about this event. And again, if you haven't had the chance to explore the Nestle career site, you can find us at nestlejobs.com. And we thank you and with that, we thank you for letting us say a few words about Nestle. And Kenneth, back to you.
And I appreciate it, man. You got that Urban League in your blood. I love it. Walking the walk, talking the talk. Jonathan from Nestle, really representing. I see you guys representing as well. We got people on from Wisconsin, from Philly. Philly, what's good? Chattanooga, Tennessee, Baltimore. Of course, Virginia's in the building because Candia's here. I know Brooklyn's floating around because of that as well. But let's just do what we do. I'm going to introduce you right now to Miss Candia Johnson. No relation, but I wish she was family because she's so amazing. Candia, welcome to the Digital Career Success Series.
Hi, Ken. Thank you so much for having me. And to echo your statements, listen, Brooklyn, Atlanta, Buffalo, Chicago, Philadelphia, I see you and I appreciate you for taking this time to connect with us today. As Kenneth said, my name is Candia Johnson, and as the founder of Candid Conversations Global, I teach workplace and entrepreneurial leaders how to eliminate self-doubt and communicate with confidence so that they can position themselves as leaders, be it in their industry, their community, or even in their workplaces. I do that primarily through workshops, coaching, as well as my podcast, the Candid Conversations podcast. And so I'm super thrilled today because I get to share the virtual hot seat with my friends here, Elle Pearson.
Well, let's just go there with it, because this is what it's all about. It's about a knack for networking. And through networking, you and I met. And then through further networking, you were able to introduce this platform to Elle and invite her on this journey with us today. I've been looking at some of her social media stuff. So amazing as a person, all about wellness, all about supporting others. So I'm glad that she showed up to support us at the National Urban League on the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series. Elle Pearson, welcome to the platform.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much, Ken. And I'm so excited for this conversation today. And for those meeting me for the first time, my name is Elle Pearson. I am a nursing leader turned healthcare consultant. So I help organizations build lasting relationships with their patients and their customers. And I also help healthcare professionals who are ultimately burned out during this time transition into the world of consulting. And so excited to dive in and talk about some authentic networking and authentic relationship building. So can't wait to dive in.
Well, let's dive in right now. Once again, Knack for Networking, sponsored by our gracious sponsor today, Nestle. I'll turn it over to you two.
Okay, so today we are going to cover how to network without feeling awkward, some of the top mistakes that people make, that I've made. I've got to bring myself to the front of the congregation. I've made a lot of these mistakes too, right? So we are going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about building social currency, the weekly habit that we all can embrace. It's one of the habits that I've used to even expand my connection with Elle, who I met on LinkedIn, and now we are committed to having real conversations and following up with one another. So when Ken invited me to be a part of the series and asked me about inviting someone else, first person I thought of was Elle, because we had a coffee chat scheduled the next day. So I said, I got to bring my girl on, okay? And so we are also going to transition into how do you turn your online professional relationships into offline connections? Because I feel like Elle and I have an offline connection that's not only about business, it's about personal as well, checking in and making sure that we are caring for ourselves throughout our career journey as well. And lastly, we're going to talk about networking etiquette. So let's get into it. Next slide. So I'm going to let Elle kick this off. Elle, what do you think is the biggest mistake people make when networking?
You know, as we've transitioned into the online networking space, it's interesting because, you know, before when we were in actual physical settings with people, there are some things that I saw as well. People just hand out their business cards and, you know, ultimately never follow up. But in the online space, people just tend to connect. It becomes a quantity thing, when ultimately who you connect with should be about quality. And so ultimately, one of the biggest mistakes you could ever make is just connecting with anyone and everybody. You have to be extremely intentional about who you connect with. And so even when I was a nursing leader at a major hospital system here in Houston, I really thought about the leaders that I really wanted to connect with, who inspired me. And I would always remember going on to the intranet, Candia, and on this intranet, there was this powerful Black woman. She was an executive leader. And I said, you know what? I want to meet her. And so that's exactly what I did strategically, right? I had access to the company email, shot her an email just saying, hey, I'm Elle, I work at the NICU. I would love to connect with you. And I was super intentional, strategic essentially, but I wasn't just randomly connecting with anybody. I knew exactly who I wanted to connect with. So as we transition into the online world, I don't just connect with anybody. I'm super intentional about who I connect with. What's your experience, India?
I feel like one of the biggest shifts for me has been in understanding that you don't go into networking with the intention to get something. And so when we talk about the awkwardness that sometimes we feel when we are networking, it comes from the fact that we are going in because we need something. And
Yeah.
sometimes we wait until we need a job or we want a job or a promotion. We want something. And so we go in with this intention, I gotta find this connect. And my thing is, instead of looking for the connect, become the connect. Walk into that room from a place of, how can I help someone today? What can I add that will be of value to the person that I'm going to connect with today? And so I always say preparation breeds confidence. And so whether you are preparing for an online event such as this one, or even an in-person event, sometimes you can lovingly stalk people and get an idea of who's going to be in attendance. And so I may say to myself, oh, Kenneth is going to be there. Let me look at his profile and see the last few articles that he's talked about. And then that way it makes it easier for me to approach Kenneth and say, hey, I read your last article, or I attended that last webinar that you did, and just give my perspectives or my thoughts about it. And it makes it easier. So I think the biggest mistake that people make is going in it from, what can I get instead of what can I give? And then the second thing is waiting until you're desperate for a job or a connection, and then the awkward feelings crop up. That would be my spiel.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I love it. There's a gentleman, and he's a friend of the family here at the National Urban League. His name's Alfred Edmond. He's a senior editor over at Black Enterprise, but he speaks a lot about, even in his mentorship relationships, what can his mentor do for him? Like, they have to come to him stating how they add value. And I think that's a big piece of it, as you had mentioned, Candia. What are you bringing to the networking request? And I think people often forget that they're always kind of networking with their hand open instead of networking as a handshake.
Definitely. So I wrote and published articles for Black Enterprise for many years, and Alfred Edmond he's a certified mic dropper, okay, in addition to his work with Black Enterprise. And so I could not agree more with him and that perspective as well. So I believe we could turn, next slide. Oh, the importance of building social currency. Social currency for me means it comes down to your power to influence people, to move them to action, to inspire people to think differently, to do something, to maybe take action on your behalf. And if you think about it in the simplest terms, when you share an article and you lend your perspectives to that article, or you ask a question related to that article, you're in a sense building social currency just by that simple share. And so for me, the benefit of building social currency is not only are you building your credibility as a leader or a person who's experienced in that field, but you're also able to attract and build a community. And so when you have social currency and you get to the point when you do need something like a job, a share, you want people to attend your event, you have a built-in community of people who will support you. And sometimes, again, you may not have ever met these people one-on-one, but they connect with you online. They love your perspectives. You begin to attract like-minded people. And so that social currency down the line, especially when you are contributing value and you are also sharing some of your perspectives and unique ways that people could have handled a situation, when you build a community around some of those issues, that same community will come back and support you tenfold, right? Elle, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, something that just hit me is a lot of times, or just reflecting back to my own career when I hadn't yet built up my own thought leadership, something that's important for you to consider is if you haven't yet, you're not quite sure what you should share or what kind of value you can even add if you're building your career and you're just trying to figure it out. Oftentimes you can connect with leaders and other, authorities in the space where you're trying to grow, and you can comment and add value on the things that they share. And so I've just found it important to also add value and just comment and share perspective. Just like Candida, anytime you post something, I'm always sharing a perspective or asking questions about things that you post, because at the end of the day, it's going to make you notice me. So oftentimes, especially when we're networking in the online space, if I see something that Kenneth posts moving forward, now that we're newly connected, I'm going to say, you know what, Kenneth, I appreciate this post. Here's how it resonates with me. Here's how it impacted me or affected me. I could send you a personal DM and just say, thank you. How many times do people reach out to you and say, thank you? I'm going to stand out from the masses. So if I'm trying to grow up the leadership ladder, I'm connected with a leader who essentially could be on LinkedIn or another platform, just by me, again, doing the research, adding value even under their, it could be a post, a comment, any value add share, and just reaching out to them directly. It just puts me on notice. And so that's something I would hope everyone here does. If you haven't yet built up your thought leadership, just add value to someone else's. I think that's important.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say too, one of the things when it comes to leveraging your network and the many benefits of it, I always tell people, listen, we can't level up alone. We need people who can, speak for you when you're not in the room, mention your name for speaking opportunities or, the job promotion or whatever your goal is. And when you have that built in a community of support, you have those people who are advocating for you sometimes when you're not even advocating for yourself. And that's the power of social currency. And it's not only about advocacy too, where a person is advocating for you. Quick story, a few months ago, I was using StreamYard for a live event that I was conducting on LinkedIn. And listen, y'all, this was the first time I was using StreamYard and I didn't know what I was doing. The slides, things wasn't displaying. And so a person who I have built a relationship from online to offline, shout out to Stephen Hart. He's the host of the Trailblazers podcast. He slid into my private message and said, sis, let's hop on a call, a 20-minute call, so I can walk you through how to use StreamYard correctly, okay? And he took 20 minutes out of his day to walk me through the bells and whistles and get me right for the next live event that I had. And that meant so much. And it started simply because on Twitter, he was sharing things and his perspectives, and I would add to it, and vice versa. And so that social currency is so very important, because it's not only about getting the job or getting someone to advocate for you, but the people in your network and your community can also support you in some areas that you may be having challenges in as well.
Yeah, that's the true power of relationships.
Yes. Okay, next slide. The weekly networking habit everyone should add to their calendar. So before we get into this, I'm always curious about my people who are on the call with me. So I'd like everyone to share in the chat. I want you to complete this sentence for me. By next year, this time, I'd like to. What's your goal? What's your career goal that you have for yourself? By next year, this time, I'd like to. Come on, let's speak those career goals into existence. Share with us in the chat what you see for yourself, either next year, this time, or 2 years from now. What are some of your career goals? Some of the things that you are actively working on, whether it's a promotion, be a certified PMP. Lorenza, I'm speaking that into existence for you. Living in the South and working on cybersecurity. Yes, I see that for you. Have my HR consulting business up and running. Okay, so listen, y'all got the chat on fire. I'm here for it. Have different streams of income, receive degree in educational policy. Okay, so like I said earlier, you can't level up alone. You can't level up alone. And so if there's one habit that I've lived by, particularly since I made the transition from employee to entrepreneur, it's a follow-up Friday habit. Okay, it's my bi-weekly, it used to be weekly, now it's a bi-weekly habit. And I want each of you to, when you leave this call, or right now, I'm gonna give you permission to multitask, okay? Usually I want you just focused on us, but we're gonna multitask. I want you to put a recurring reminder on your calendar and call it Follow-Up Friday. I don't care if it's 15 minutes or 30 minutes, okay? I want you to be intentional about some of the folks that you are in conversation with online, some of the folks who you may have connected with, but maybe you've lost the connection. Use that time to send a DM or a private message. So this is how Elle and I we do. And then on the DMs, well, it used to be LinkedIn, but now we're personal. So we got each other's personal telephone numbers now. But, we text each other, hey, when are you available for a quick coffee chat? Here's my Calendly, let's get together, right? So I want you to be intentional about looking at your goals, finding people who may have like-minded interests. You play in the same space, both inside and outside of your industry, and be intentional about, after you've maybe commented on a few articles and you're engaging with one another, be intentional about taking some of those relationships from online to offline. So Taisha has a hybrid career in beauty and culinary. Start connecting with people who you are connected with online. And if you've been commenting on their articles, it's time to slide into, and there is back and forth. It's time to maybe slide into their private message and see if they want to do a coffee chat. Elle, what's your weekly habit?
Yeah, you know what? As my business has grown, sometimes, I'm gonna be completely transparent. Sometimes it's not every week, but at the end of the day, I don't want people to forget about me. So even if I'm making touches at least every quarter, just to check in, that's something that I've committed to do. But something I always do, I think about, if I've connected with this person, how do I like to be messaged and DM'd? And so something that I like to do for those top level connections, just like that leader I mentioned to you, where I found her in the intranet and the global email, and I sent a message to her, I always send out Christmas cards. Normally we send out Christmas cards to family and friends. But I said, no, I'm going to send a Christmas card to this lady. And now I've even done that in my business, to where if it's someone that I'm prospecting, or even close friends that I've built a relationship with online and now it's offline, I've made it personal to where, no, I want you to be a part of my family. I want you to know that I truly do care about you. So I have what's called a holiday campaign. So from around Thanksgiving to the beginning of the end of January, you'll most likely get a Christmas card from me. So the great thing about LinkedIn is you're able to collect that information. So I may not have your address, but I can at least ask for it and just say, you know what, I would love to send you, something for the holidays. Do I mind if I have your business address? And you have that person's birthday date on their birthday on LinkedIn as well. So there's just so many ways in which you can reach out weekly. Absolutely. But friend, I'm gonna be real. Sometimes my schedule is crazy. So even if it's about a holiday campaign, again, I like to do the things that essentially nobody is doing. So there's not too many holiday cards I receive from other people, but I know for sure that I'm gonna send out those to prospects, leads, friends, family, anyone that I truly care about building a relationship with.
Right. I love that. And Elle didn't mention this, but I'm going to put her on the spot. One of the things that she loves too is she sends voice notes.
I do.
So, yes, she's like, girl, I'm in the car going to pick up this and going to pick up that. And she sends voice notes. And sometimes that human interaction, or just hearing someone say, I was thinking about you, or you mentioned this in your article, is so heartfelt. Right? It's so heartfelt. But to your point, even if you can't make it a weekly habit, make it a bi-weekly habit. Put a reminder on your calendar that it's a monthly habit. And for me, that Follow-Up Friday has expanded into so many different follow-ups. But sometimes I'm also following up with, I have several mentees, I have past clients and current clients. And so anything that I need to follow up even with emails, I mark it for that as a task during my Follow-Up Friday. So sometimes a Follow-Up Friday is 20 minutes. Sometimes it's an hour, depending on the number of things that I've added to the list. But life happens. And so sometimes you have to schedule yourself. And at the end of the day, we're always so busy putting everyone else on our to-do list. Put you on your to-do list. And don't take yourself off of your to-do list. And so a follow-up Friday is not only about following up with your network, it's also a time to follow up with yourself too. So for many of you with these amazing goals that you have a goal to have your product in over 20 HBCU bookstores. Be intentional about following up on that goal, as well as the people that can help you reach that goal, and set a reminder to do that weekly.
I love it. Follow up Friday. Let's keep it going.
Okay, next, the types of people. Everybody needs a squad, okay? You need a variety of people in your life. And so for me, when I think about people that are in my success squad, I like to have people who, people often say great minds think alike. Great minds don't think alike. All great minds don't think alike. You need someone who can challenge you. You need that person who's going to disrupt your thinking and help you uncover that blind spot. I call that my disruptor. You need someone in your squad who's also an industry insider. So shout out to Stephen Hart again, because he's usually looking at the trends and things of that sort that's coming up in the space. And so I'm always happy to connect with him on that. You need an industry insider. You also, of course, need a cheerleader, someone who can motivate you when you're feeling down. It happens to the best of us. Last week was my week. Next week may be your week. It happens to all of us. And so I believe a variety of different people should be in your squad. What about you, Elle?
Yeah, I like what Jamil posted. She said an accountability partner. And I love this. And in fact, I have about 2 or 3 accountability partners. I'm super intentional about my week. And so I share my income goals, what my activity looks like with my accountability partner. And at the end of the week, we also follow up with each other to see if we were actually on point. And I feel like that's so important because oftentimes we can get just bombarded with so many different things in the week. And something else in regards to accountability, I think having someone who can hold you not only accountable to just networking and growth, but also someone who can touch base with you on a personal level, which is why I'm glad we transitioned our relationship offline, Candida, because there's times when I just need to vent and you're that person who can actually understand, because you understand how it is to navigate business and also take care of yourself as well. So I feel like that's so important. Accountability is a good one for me.
Yes, definitely. Accountability is a really a good one. So yeah, be intentional about that success squad. And I can't say enough that these people don't necessarily have to be in your industry, right? So they could be in L's and healthcare. I'm primarily in communication, adult training. So they don't have to be in your industry. Stefan is in technology. So it's totally different. Be open to having a variety of different people in your squad. Next slide. So approaches for turning online professional relationships into offline connections. So I believe I touched on this earlier, but I believe that you should try to engage with a person a few times online before asking them to hop on a call. And of course, context is key. So if it's business and you want a service from them, that's something completely different. But if you're trying to build a mutually beneficial relationship, one where you can contribute and they can contribute and you could build from there, I believe that after you connect with them through conversation online, slide into their direct message and continue whatever conversation you most recently had and say, hey, I see that we both enjoy, or I love that you focus on this, I'm focused on that. I think you're dope. I think you're cool. We should connect and for a coffee chat. So I have a whole coffee chat in my Calendly just for people like Elle and Ken, so we could vibe and connect from online to offline. What about you, Elle?
You know what? I sent this message to you, or actually I think I commented under your comment on LinkedIn today. I feel like I'm really good at turning online relationships into actual offline relationships. But I think even before you start to network, and I'm going to say online, in the online space, because that's essentially where we're talking about, it's really important to, before you start adding to your network, also start to evaluate those in your current warm network who really shouldn't be there anymore. And so there's times where I've actually reached out to, whether it be a leader or someone I admire, and I've kind of gone through the message chain, and I can see I've sent this message, I've sent this voice note, just putting myself out there. And sometimes, like when it comes to networking, let's be real, this is about being vulnerable too, because I've been embracing just becoming more authentic when it comes to my networking. So I don't just send a generic message, I do my research. However, I know it's, those people who aren't quite interested in networking or continuing to be a part of the network, I have to let them go and remove them. Only because I know if this person does not want to build an authentic relationship, that's not the type of person I would want to take offline to develop into a friendship. And so I can give you so many different tactics and approaches to building relationships, but I think the very first step is really going through your warm network and seeing who no longer serves you. I've even done this with Instagram. I love Instagram to death, but sometimes I have to look and see what a person is posting. If this does not serve me, does not motivate me, inspire me, or give me some type of, motivation, whatever that means, however you like to use Instagram, I'm going to remove them from my network. I don't want to follow you any longer. And so the same thing goes for a professional relationship building. Remove those relationships that no longer serve you. And when it comes to, again, building relationships, Candia, you said it, engagement is important, but also I like to pivot right when everyone's going left. So I do tend to send voice notes. Something I've recently been using also is Loom. If it's someone who I truly want to add value to, I will do a Loom video shoot, show my screen, share information with them that's helpful at the end of the day. And again, no one is essentially doing those types of I want to say radical ways to make connections. But at the end of the day, if it's truly a relationship that's going to be valued in the long end, those are some things that I do. Eliminate those who do not need to be in my network, who are no longer serving me, or I cannot serve them, and really going above and beyond. And so I always take into account, how do I like people to really court me? And I do that same thing. So
right.
Yeah,
I think too, essentially what I heard you say a lot could fit perfectly into one of my favorite quotes. I'm not sure who said this, but be more interested than interesting.
Yes.
Be more interested in the other person than trying to be interesting to the person. And so you're leading the relationship with a spirit of curiosity, to learn more about them, to get curious about some of the things that may bring them joy, to get curious about some of the projects that they are working on. And so sometimes once I ask a person, what's bringing you joy these days, or if it's at an in-person event, because we're getting back into the in-person now, I may say, and listen, first off, I may address the elephant in the room and say, I'm not really a networking event type person. Networking events are really not my thing. But when I heard Al Pearson was going to be here, I said, oh, I had to buy this ticket. Who are you most interested in seeing speak today? What topic brought you here? Mm-hmm. So be more interested than interesting. And then from that point, figuring out and saying, hey, I would love to support you and sharing your work. Or I have someone who's also connected. If you really have a good connection with that person, I am a fan of also making virtual connections when it's safe for both parties. So I may reach out to Kenneth and say, hey, and Kenneth did a virtual connection for me, in fact, last week. But Kenneth, he asked permission and said, hey, I think you should connect with this person. So also being genuine when you share or when you ask about people's interests, and offering them an opportunity for you to support their work or connect them with an article or a person who they should also know to help them achieve their goals as well. So, Elle had a comment.
Before we go on, I just wanted to share in 2020, November 2020, I did my first TEDx talk. This is actually how I landed that engagement. So let me walk you through the process, because after the event, even to this day, I get messages in my inbox like, how do I land a TEDx talk? And I'm like, you guys don't network. Don't just sit in that dry application and not network. And so I thought about, okay, what are the cities in which I would like to speak? I went onto the TEDx platform and all the information is there. That's why I'm like, today, you guys, for those of you who mentioned in the chat, you want to grow up the leadership ladder, you want to do these amazing things in your business, you have access to all of these leaders, you have access to all of these decision makers. Reach out, introduce yourself. And so that's exactly what I did. I thought about the cities in which I would like to speak. I went onto the TEDx website. I saw the event coordinators, and I connected with them on LinkedIn and introduced myself. And I would drop in here and there, just adding some value. Of course, they would see my posts. And so when I finally did submit that application, I was connected with that coordinator of the TEDx event. He knew me. There was a relationship there. And so when I submitted the application, he was like, you would be perfect for this. Are you available? And I'm like, absolutely. Now, could that have happened without me building relationship? Yeah, possibly. But because I built that relationship and planted those seeds, it really expedited my results. And so really think about who would you like to be connected with that you actually do have access to, just like I was listening to Jonathan. Okay, if you worked at Nestle and you wanted to grow up that leadership ladder, I know I would go find Jonathan's email and I'm going to connect with him too. But essentially, for those of you who are not connected with him, go on LinkedIn, find Jonathan, introduce yourself, make sure it's authentic. And so you just never know what doors could open for you if you just took the chance to even plant the seed, nurtured that seed, put some sunshine on it, watered it, and just let it grow and nourish into something amazing.
That is amazing. So I believe this is our last slide. And if there's one thing I want to lead you with, networking etiquette. Yeah. So I believe Elle wrapped that up. But Elle, any more tips to add?
Yeah, well, really, networking etiquette, I wanted to just kind of touch on some things. And we talked about most of these, but really, when you're connecting with those online, listen, appearance does matter. If there is a man on a motorcycle trying to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's probably not going to happen. So really think about your appearance and all the things that you're trying to portray. You want to be, I see Kenneth laughing, but it's the truth.
You said a man on a motorcycle. Okay. Okay.
It's happened to me. You really want to think about what is the appearance, what are you essentially bringing to the table? I want you to think about, if you're connecting on LinkedIn or any other social platform, essentially that is your digital handshake. So you really want to think about your appearance, if you're smiling, if you're welcoming. Those things all matter. So if you are networking online, consider that. And also, just kind of to reiterate some things that Candia mentioned, you always want to make sure you're engaging, building that relationship and that rapport before you ask for a favor or business, and also really just commit to staying connected. There's nothing more, essentially, I'm going to be honest, there's nothing more annoying than someone who only reaches out to you when they need something. In those situations, I'm sorry, but I can't help you. Or even, I want you to think about this too as we're wrapping up. If you are reaching out to connect with someone, you want to make sure that you're not sending an entire paragraph about yourself. That's something that is a true turnoff. So when I receive a message to connect with someone, or if someone finds my email address and they just want to, establish a relationship, if it's a paragraph about them, 9 times out of 10, I most likely won't engage with the conversation because it's about them. Make it about the person in which you can develop a relationship with, and that'll take you so far.
Yeah, I would say for me, I'll start with a pet peeve. Don't try to sell me in 24 hours after, or 5 hours or 5 minutes after you connect with me. That's a surefire way online for me to probably unfollow you or remove the connection when you try to sell me within the first few minutes of our connection. I believe, sometimes relationships, especially professional relationships, they take time to build. So that's just my preference. And I believe in also trying to personalize some of your connections when you do reach out as well.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned the time factor. I think that's something else that needs to be taken into consideration. It takes time to actually build an authentic, lasting relationship, essentially. And I like to relate it to a man who is going out to court a woman. You don't just ask someone to marry you on the first date. It's a relationship. It takes time. So the same thing, and essentially for your networking as well.
Right, right. Kenneth, did you want to say something? I thought you said.
No, I was kind of engaged in the conversation, man. Great conversation, by the way. I was thinking about something that Elle said in relationship to the TEDx platform, and it's a great platform to position yourself as a subject matter expert and or leader. I'm the organizer of TEDx Harlem, and I'm a TEDx speaker, right? So with all of that being said, I also believe from the networking standpoint, you can reverse engineer that process. If you've seen someone's TEDx, or if you've Googled them and you see that that comes up, that they've delivered a talk, listen to the talk and then make your intro into connecting with information based from their talk, right? It lets them know that you really expressed interest by investing the time to listen to their talk, but also you can kind of understand their thought process and where you may be able to add value. So not only is it a great platform for those looking to talk, but for the individuals looking to network, you can use that platform as a research ground to kind of solidify the reason why they may want to network with you.
Right. That's another powerful, powerful tip. And I have to say too, I think back to my time publishing articles for Black Enterprise Magazine. And if you are looking to get media coverage to position yourself as a leader or as a thought leader, and you work every day as a leader in the workplace, but you also want to position your thoughts in media, it's also a great way for you to land media coverage once you have these pre-existing relationships with people who already work in media. And so a lot of the times when I think about some of the stories that I've covered, I had relationships with either the entrepreneur or the executive, and we probably had a relationship, established a relationship on Twitter, and then kept it up over time. And when they pitched me, even when the pitch was bad, the pitch could have went from bad to good because they had a relationship, and I spent the time and said, okay, wait. Now we need to rework this angle here, and maybe we could consider this angle. And so it happens so much easier, make it easier on yourself by spending time building up the relationships across industries. So when you need that support to help you get to that next level, that support system is already in place. It's not a matter of if you're going to need someone to help you get to that next level. It's a matter of when you're going to need someone to get you to that next level. So being very intentional about making relationship building a weekly habit, bi-weekly habit, monthly habit is key to your success. One of the things I live by is the fact that relationships will take you places money can't. So the same energy that you put into hours a day to make money is the same energy that you need to put into building your relationships as well. So I believe that this is finally it. I could hand it over to Ken.
Yeah, I was going to say we're coming down the stretch, so I wanted to let the audience know to please drop your questions in the Q&A section. Dory is so on point. You see the way that Q&A slide came up? I love it. All right, listen. So we have some questions already positioned in the Q&A. One of the questions I think goes back to something Elle was speaking about, but they'd like to know, what's the best platform or mode to send voice notes?
Oh yeah, so you can send, again, I do a lot of my professional networking on LinkedIn. And so to be able to use the voice notes, you have to use your smartphone. So you would open up the LinkedIn app, go into your messages, and there should be a little microphone that pops up at the very bottom. And so you can just hit that button. It only allows you to record a quick, 1 minute voice note, but you can send it there. And also you can see if that person was able to hear it. So use, again, your smartphone, go into the LinkedIn app, just like you're about to send out a message, but you'll just hit that microphone and send your voice note.
Right. Instagram allows you to send voice notes too. So you
do.
could send voice notes. You could even send video notes. You could send voice and video also in Instagram.
All right. So we've spoken a lot about LinkedIn. Are there any other platforms, ways other than face-to-face interaction that you believe are viable sources for networking?
I believe so. I'm going to tell you, for me, I've had my best career opportunities from Twitter. Twitter is another, and normally when people, sometimes people are pretty intimidated by Twitter, but I believe the power of Twitter is you really get to see people's perspectives, especially when you think about, breaking news and all those sorts of things. It goes down on Twitter, right? And so you're able to engage in conversation, to me, more at a deeper level sometimes on Twitter. And so when I think about some of the opportunities that I've received from media to even speaking engagements to new clients, it started on Twitter. It really started. So Twitter has been the most powerful platform for me. And if you think about now, there's Twitter Spaces. So there's so many different things that you can do on Twitter. But Twitter for me has been a powerful, kind of underestimated tool for connecting with people. Because for me, I love LinkedIn, but sometimes LinkedIn, it can be a little stuffy. Okay, a little stuffy. On Twitter, people gonna cut up a little bit. So you get to see their true flavor.
Colors.
Yeah, their true colors and their true flavor. Okay, Edwin, I got you. Edwin said, I'm on Twitter. So yes, I'll follow you. So you can get to see people and their true flavor and their perspectives and more of a joyful way on Twitter. So that's one network that I believe is underestimated as well.
Yeah, there's some great things happening on Twitter with the Twitter Spaces situation. I know former Digital Career Success Series speaker, Knack, my little sis, I call her. She's doing
I love Knack.
Yeah, she's doing amazing things over there on the Twitter Spaces platform. So shout out to her. So also as we kind of speak through this networking, right? So, I think sometimes people struggle to network in their internal spaces. So picture yourself in the workplace, and you're looking to maybe network with somebody that's outside of your segment or outside of your group or in a different department. Do you have any advice on how someone can seamlessly kind of transition over to another group and make the connection?
Right. And so one piece of advice that I would share, where there are two things that I would share. One, you could go the traditional route with sending them an email and just saying, hey, such and such, I noticed your interest in, or I know the department you're working in. I'm curious, right? Be clear in your ask. I'm curious about how you got started in the industry or how you got started in the department. Do you have 20 minutes or do you have 20 or 15 minutes to hop on a call with me? That's one. The second thing I would say too is sometimes in your internal network has so I know when I worked in management consulting, we had these lunch and lead series and things of that sort. And so if I knew that someone I wanted to connect with was going to attend, or maybe they were hosting that sort of event, I would participate in a series of those events, or maybe one or two events. And then I would ask them, whatever question I had to try and connect with them further and build a relationship from there. And sometimes I always say baby steps count too. So if you go to that lunch and lead, even if it's just talking to them about their journey or their work, or maybe they were employee of the month or what have you, some sort of flattery to start the conversation. And then the next one, going in for an official connection to discuss some opportunities that you're interested in.
You know what? Let's take a deeper dive here. So this is a great question. What are the things that you do that allow you to feel more confident in your efforts to network intentionally? And also, and this is for either one of you, or both of you even, and also, how do you take inventory on what's worked best for you? People are very reluctant to network. It's a very unnatural thing for some. So how do you develop your muscle in that space, and also what's worked best for you? Candia?
So first off, again, the first, I believe everything starts with the mindset shift. And for me, I know that I cannot level up alone. And so I really start with some of the people that I know I need. Like Elle mentioned earlier, an accountability partner. I need people who maybe think differently than me. And I think sometimes we're looking for those like-minded individuals. And so I would say first to be clear about the types of people that you need in your life right now, and make a conscious, again, weekly habit of figuring out how you can connect with them. And I would say too, switching your mindset shift from, if you've reached out to them 3 times and they haven't returned your email. I know sometimes we could have the tendency to personalize that. You never know what people are going through. Don't take it personal, right? And so I think sometimes we build up a lot of anxiety, or we feel awkward about connecting with people because if they don't respond to the email or the DM or the chat, that means they're not interested. No, it just means that they're not available. It has nothing to do with you. Keep it pushing till you find the next person who can support you.
I get it. Elle, what's your advice?
Yeah, I really lean into that, Candida, simply because, initially it can be uncomfortable. Initially it may feel a little bit like you're being rejected, right? We're human, those feelings come up, but you essentially have to acknowledge those feelings and put them to the side and ultimately think about the end goal and why you're networking in the first place. And essentially what that will mean to your career growth and your business growth. And so that's why I really, for me, I take account of the relationships that I've established. And, again, I really do clean out my inbox and remove connections, or, remove attempts for me continuing to attempt to reach out all the time. And so I just lean into the relationships that have been pivotal to my business and career growth, like thinking about those relationships and how I have the president of Sharps Hospital in my phone, his phone number, and he asked me about my daughter and vice versa. Like, I lean into that type of relationship where I have an offline connection that's authentic, it means something, it's valuable. And so, just like we know, not all business is good business, and you don't want to do business with everybody. It's the same in regards to networking. So I have essentially shifted my mindset as well to, you know what? If this connection doesn't translate to an offline relationship, that's okay. I'm going to keep it moving.
I appreciate it. And I also appreciate the question. So speaking of leaning in, how do individuals stay in contact with the two of you? What's the best method to stay in contact with Candida Johnson?
The best method to stay in contact with me. So I'm pretty active on LinkedIn right now. You can send me an email. I'm an old-fashioned kind of girl. hello@candidajohnson.com. Also, listen to the podcast, Candid Conversations. The Candid Conversations podcast is on all of the networks. And when if you follow me on LinkedIn or connect with me on LinkedIn, I'd love to stay connected with you that way.
I love it. Elle, how about yourself?
Yeah, I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. And that way you can kind of see what that conversation looks like and what it should look like when you're reaching out to others as well. So connect with me there. Also, I love Instagram. So I strategically follow people who can just give me a little bit of inspiration, and hopefully I can be your inspiration for the day as well.
No, but I love it. Connect with me on LinkedIn and I'll show you what that should look like. I love it. Elle is giving out TED Talks right now, right here. All right, let's do it. If you want to connect through with me, Kenneth L. Johnson on most platforms, but you can visit the website at eastcoastexecutives.com for all information about myself. And I also drop a lot of stuff about the Digital Career Success Series on the platform. And speaking of the Digital Career Success Series, we will welcome back Nestle Representative Jonathan Wilson to share some information. Jonathan, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. Wow, that was great. That event was, I took a lot of notes, learned a lot. So definitely thank you, Candida and Elle, in addition to the entire National Urban League, for putting together an amazing event today. For me, I'm super fired up, ready to get out and network. There's some things that I didn't even know that I learned and took notes. I even put the follow-up Fridays already on my phone. I've got the alert set up. I even gave myself actions to take as we roll through it. So I'm pumped about that. Again, truly honored to be here and to partner with the National Urban League in an effort to engage future talent and also act in our community. We value professional development, and we definitely want to let you know that we're interested in people who are interested in leveling up their careers, and want to reiterate that we want you to check out our website, right? Go check out Nestle Jobs, definitely nestlejobs.com. And we're hiring all throughout the nation. We have opportunities within a variety of functional areas and levels. And I personally encourage you to join our talent community, where you'll receive occasional emails. That'll give you the ability to be the first to know when opportunities present themselves throughout the country or within your skill set. Again, I definitely thank you for the time and really appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
We appreciate you and the good people at Nestle. Please visit nestlejobs.com and lock in. Flex those networking skills that you learned today from Candia and Elle. Jonathan, thank you so very much for joining us today. Candia, Elle, on behalf of the National Urban League, Wanda Jackson, Dory Brown, the entire team, Dave, everybody, we want to thank you as well. Listen, for our audience, we're going to do this again March 30th at noon. Women Building Legacy. Really excited about this one. It's Women's History Month. As you can tell, we had two amazing women jump on today, and we're going to do it again. So March 30th, please feel free to join us. Register now, share it with your network. We're building community here as well, and we're building legacy with the Digital Career Success Series. My name's Kenneth L. Johnson. I'd like to thank you for joining us today. And I also, again, want to thank an incredible duo. I look forward to your own podcast. I think you guys should both join up together and do something. Elle Pearson, Candia Johnson, we appreciate you. Thank you so very much for joining us. We'll see you on March 30th for Women Building Legacy.